Senator John Fetterman has been making a lot of sense lately, something I thought I might never say about the man. There's been a lot of dissenters on his own side wishing he'd just leave the Democrat Party. There's been a lot of talk on the Republican side that maybe he should make a party switch and become a Republican. I say he should remain as a Democrat. I mean, think about it. Look at what's happened to the Democrat Party over the years. It's always been on the wrong side mostly, but at the same time, it was never as radical as it is now. Look at who their leaders are. People like Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Ilhan Omar. People who think that men can get pregnant and who advocate for terrorists who want to unalive us. I've said this before, but I think we have a terrible divide in this country, but it's not really based on disagreement. Not real disagreement. You know, the kind where there's a basis for what you disagree about. This is something else entirely. This is drawing a hard party line where the only main objective is to simply take an opposite view, even if and even when it doesn't make sense. If someone in the party is stepping back and saying, hey, wait a minute, this isn't something we should be against, that's not a cue to get that person out. That's a cue to rally around them. That's a cue to perk up the ears and really try to understand why he might just have a point worth listening to. You may not agree with everything John Fetterman says, but at least you know one thing about him. He's thinking about what he says. He's not worried about what his party thinks or what his party wants. He's not taking a side. He's taking up each issue before him to decide on one by one and using his intellect to guide him. Granted, I'll admit, common sense seems like it should be an easy thing to define, but it does still depend on who you ask. But you can sort of tell when someone's truly thinking about something or when they're just mindlessly latching onto a tow rope, allowing themselves to simply be led around. I like something Bill Maher has said more than once when he's been accused of abandoning his party. I didn't abandon the party abandoned me. I haven't changed what I believe in. He's thinking on his own, and he recognizes the abandonment of at least the common sense core values. Sure, Maher is still a leftist to the core, make no mistake about it. There are many issues that when you hear Fetterman talk about them, you can't mistake he's on the left as well. I disagree with many of the positions the left holds. That's why I lean conservative. And I think lean is the appropriate word to use when we talk about these things. Maher and Fetterman lean left, but there are still certain things you simply can't deny. Like, for example, you don't just wake up one morning and forget what a woman is. Regardless of our disagreements, there are common sense core things that we shouldn't be forced to abandon just in order to take a side. We shouldn't just have a blanket opposition to certain things because our parties say so. Because at the end of the day, I think there's something that we forget sometimes. We're not two countries here. It's not the United States of Democrats or the United States of Republicans. It's the United States of America. And part of the job of our elected officials is to find common ground, not to simply oppose each other at every turn. It's hard enough to get things done in Congress. We all know. But it's even harder when the hardline answer is no all the time just because the question is coming from one side or the other, and that's what you're expected to do. Again, you might disagree with John Fetterman, but he knows why he's there in the Senate. He knows what his job is. He knows what he was elected to do. He knows he represents not just the Democrats who offered him their vote, he represents the entire state he was elected in, which means everyone. He's going to advance the agenda of his party, but to do that, he's also not going to reject common sense core values. Again, I keep going back to that because I think it matters. John Fetterman needs to stay in the Democrat Party because his message matters, because he can show the value of thinking. What the Democrat Party needs more than anything are better leaders, people who make sense, even when you disagree with them. At least you can say, well, I think he's wrong, but at least I know he's thought about it. At least you can have some idea that he genuinely cares about what he's saying and he's not trying to win any accolades or trophies. He's not looking for pats on the back from his party. He's just taking up the issues, going with his gut, using his common sense and deciding for himself. And he's also making a strong effort to explain things. This is why it matters. His argument is important because it can speak to his voters directly, but also offer an example to his own party in Congress. Here's what we can accomplish when we agree to disagree on certain things, but come together and work harder on the things we can agree on. And doesn't it help to also restore some faith with voters as well? When all we see is constant arguing and infighting and nothing ever gets done because there's this constant push and pull, it makes us feel like we don't matter. Because these guys we send to the Hill aren't supposed to be towing party lines. They're supposed to be fighting for the American people. That means all of us, regardless of whether a D or an R happens to follow your name. And again, you can't do that if you stop thinking and just go along with whatever the status quo of your party happens to be. I mean, if that's all these guys are going to be elected to do, why have 100 senators? Why do we need all of these congressmen? Just choose a couple of guys to send there and let them pull all the levers amongst themselves? If you're not supposed to have an individual thought, why allow in all of these other minds? A collective is a collective, whether there's 50 people or two, 100 people or one. The best thing John Fetterman can do is to form a rally around common sense core values and show everyone why it matters and why it's valuable. If he leaves the Democrat Party and just goes to the other side, I think we all lose something from that happening. It furthers the divide and removes someone from the other side who can do more good on that side than by switching to the other one. Because regardless of which side someone happens to reside on, that's what we need. Leaders, not followers. People willing to go to battle, even with their own side, to fight for every American's best interests. No, John Fetterman needs to remain a Democrat. They need him. He's their silver lining. He's their bastion of hope. He's their resurrection. He's their call to action.